All right. Hello.
What's up, bro?
Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Comic Room podcast. We're happy to be back. 3 weeks. Who knew we would have made it this long?
We're still here. We're alive and kicking.
Even if nobody's watching us, we'll still do it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's still fun. Sweet. All right. I totally lost my train of thought.
Show and tell.
Show and tell. That's right. All right. Yeah. So as normal, we kick off every episode with a little bit of show and tell. We show you guys a piece of our collection.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to you audio listeners. We'll try to explain the books as best we can.
Yep.
So why don't you go ahead and kick us off this
All right.
week, Bob?
So my show and tell today comes from my Fantastic Four collection, one of my favorites, and it's Fantastic Four issue number 25. I think there you go. No glare there. Fantastic Four issue number 25. Great cover for sure, but not just a great cover. Should I set it in now? Set it here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first off, just look at the cover. Okay. It's Fantastic Four issue 25. So it's basically the start of year 3 of the run. So it's early. Classic cover. Thing versus Hulk cover. Thing versus Hulk battle. Now it's the second time that the Hulk and the Thing have faced off. First time is in Fantastic Four 12, but they only like throw hands for like two panels in FF12. So it's not really a full out fight in FF12. This is kind of considered like it goes on for pages. Like they beat each other up in this one. And spoiler alert, the Thing finds out that he's not unbeatable, basically, as he admits at the end of this issue. Then it continues in issue 26. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, the Hulk defeats the Thing, essentially stronger than the Thing. So it's the first time they truly fight, where you get a sense of how they measure up. An unbelievable cover, but then there's one other thing people, I won't say they don't know about it because it says it right here, but I don't know if anybody really gives it a lot of weight. They should. This comic book is the second appearance in the Silver Age for Captain America. This book comes out between Avengers 4 and Avengers 5. So
really?
Yeah, right there.
Wow.
Now he only appears in 2 panels, and he's just talking. He's not done. There's not like a lot of action or anything, but it is his second appearance. So
that's gonna tie in real nicely to my sleeper book that we'll talk about on our Patreon.
Right. Yeah, right on. Okay, but, good. If I had to choose, if there was a fire and I had to, not counting like the value of the books or anything like that, but if I only had 10 books that I could save for my collection, I would get that one. That would be one of them I would get. It's a pretty recent add to my collection, but it's not a recent want. I've wanted this since I was a kid, and it was always out of my range. So when I finally got within my range, I grabbed it. I just love this cover. I have issue 26, which is the full Avengers crossover into this storyline. And there's more fighting between the Hulk and the Thing, but this cover, it's been homaged several times.
Yeah.
This particular issue here is got great color strike, so I just love it. And I do think it's a sleeper book. I mean, it's got a couple really, 2-3 really amazing things going for it, and it's surprisingly inexpensive.
Yeah.
So, but that's my show and tell for today.
Sweet. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
All right.
I like that cover. I like the way the Hulk looks. He looks different than like he typically does.
He's got a huge head.
Yeah, his head is massive. Yeah.
And he makes the Thing look small.
Yeah, he does.
Normally, I'm not an artist or anything, but wouldn't you normally like put the larger thing, whatever's larger is because it's in the foreground, but the Hulk is in the background and he's still way bigger than the Thing in the front of him. But that's accurate. The Hulk is huge.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Love this book.
Thanks for sharing.
All right.
You're Mr. Fantastic. Slide that over your right shoulder behind you. For you audio listeners, we have
here?
shelves behind us. Yeah.
There we go, Reed. He's peeking out behind
there you go. Yep, that's good.
Okay. All right, I'll clear the path here.
All right. My turn for show and tell. We coincidentally both picked Fantastic Four books. We don't talk about show and tell before. That's obviously part of the whole thing. We show each other, obviously, when we get into this room because you can't really hide it. But today, for my show and tell, I brought a Fantastic Four issue number 57. and this is an iconic comic, an iconic cover. And if you are a longtime viewer of the channel, you will remember me negotiating this book and buying it at Shortbox Live in 2023. So I got this book then. It's just a great Doom cover and a Silver Surfer one too. Just beautiful. So the reason why I chose this book today is because this book is probably I'll say cover that kind of propelled me into going for the entire Silver Age Doom covers. Yeah. It's just so beautiful.
It is.
The colors are amazing. So sorry, audio listeners, this is a 7.5 white pager, FF57 with the custom label, and I think yours was a 6.5 off white to white.
Right.
I mean, just the big Doom hulking his face, and everybody else is like panicking around him. And he just looks calm, cool, and collected.
I love that purple background. Mine FF25 has a purple background too. That's interesting. That purple up here at top.
So I think we talked about this last week a little bit. Oh yeah, look at that. I think we talked about this last week a little bit, and I think in the first episode as well. But Jack Kirby just does these like big hulking. Like right next to you is FF49, the first appearance of Galactus. Obviously, Galactus is a big
anyway
being, but he just does these like huge characters on the cover just really, really well. FF48 with the Watcher.
Yep. FF29 with the Watcher. FF39 with Doom hovering over and his and Daredevil.
With Daredevil, yeah. So those are my favorite Jack Kirby covers, honestly. Yeah. Except for 48.
I can't believe you brought this one because this is one that I don't own. This is one of those Fantastic Four keys. I don't have it. So at least I don't have it yet, but you better check your pockets when I leave here today.
So yeah, just a great Doom cover. I have almost collected all of the Silver Age Dooms. I'm missing 3, one of which is FF5.
It's funny because your show and tell is something that got you into like what I like to call mini runs or mini collections. For you, it was I want to get all the as many of the awesome Silver Age Doom covers or all of them, whatever you decide to do, that in good condition or whatever. And for me with the FF25, I want to get all the Hulk thing battles.
Oh yeah,
and the Hulk FF25 was one of the key ones I didn't have.
Yeah,
and FF12 is the last one I don't have. I'm curious. You guys do that out there? You've got your numerical runs that people like to fill. Right. But what about just like, I want to get all the Doom covers. I want to get all the Hulk thing battles. Those are fun little things to like treasure hunts to give yourself as a collector.
Yeah. What are you guys collecting? For me, I don't I don't really go for runs. This is how I collect all the Doom covers. Not all the skull covers, but skull covers, cat covers.
You squashed any hopes I had of collecting skull covers when you made me realize we were looking at Spider-Man 129 First Punisher, and you said classic skull cover.
Oh yeah,
and I went, oh, you're right. So every cover with Punisher on it with his old costume, maybe skull his new costume, is technically a skull cover. So I'm out. There's too many.
I don't really collect runs. I think it's a lot of work, man. Because a lot of times you're digging in $1, $2, $3 boxes, and
it becomes a little bit of an enslavement.
Yeah, when it comes to like collecting actual runs, I will collect stuff that I've read and I've like really loved. So like the Zdarsky Daredevil run, the David Mack Daredevil. Grant Morrison All-Star Superman,
and Frank Miller Daredevil run.
Yeah, Frank Miller Daredevil run. Yeah, so it's mostly just like kind of trimmed.
I collected the Green Lantern Green Arrow run, the Adams O'Neill. I've completed that. I never had aspirations to collect the Byrne Claremont X-Men run because it was too big, too vast, and too expensive.
Yeah.
Not to say I wouldn't love it. I know people out there watching or listening definitely have done that.
Yeah.
And I'm a little jealous. That's a great run.
Yeah.
You know, I thought like I mentioned this before, I thought I would do the whole Star Wars run, but I petered out on that one a bit.
Yeah. Another thing that's changed is this poster. So the last couple episodes we had, last episode, we had the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie poster, and now we have the Batman 2022 with Robert Pattinson standing in front of his Batmobile.
And this is the actual movie poster too. This isn't like you go to Prince Plus or whatever.
Yeah, no, this one and the Into the Spider-Verse, they're both like the posters that you'd see if you're at the movie theater, and they got like the coming soon. Mm-hmm. So these are both like coming soon posters.
And Instagram claim sale purchases too, right?
This one is I got this one from Richie Buxo. He has a lot of insane collectibles. I think he used to do paparazzi. So, you know, when you're just in that part of the industry, you just have crazy hookups. So, one of probably my favorite poster.
Yeah, I love it.
I can't wait. So I was wrong. I think last episode I said fall 2025.
Yeah.
It's fall 2026. So.
Okay, I'm still young enough where that doesn't concern me yet. But eventually I'm going to start saying, I'm never going to get to the end of this movie. You know, come on, that's a long wait.
Yeah, it is a long wait. Yeah. I mean, in 4 years.
Yeah, I miss the old days when Lord of the Rings came out 3 consecutive years. You got the 3 movies, but
that would have been nice. But
okay,
hey, if we're waiting 4 years for something even better than what the Batman was, then I'm with it.
Yeah, the Batman was great.
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of comic book media, we have a little bit of news this week. Kind of a quiet week in general for news. A lot of trailers came out this week, not just for Marvel, but just for everything.
Yeah.
So I think maybe summertime or fall movies. I'm not sure. But we got the trailer for Agatha Harkness. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm sure, as everybody knows by now, you're a huge FF collector.
Yeah.
So she's pretty big in FF lore.
I mean, post the Silver Surfer, Black Panther era, there aren't a lot of key first appearances in Fantastic Four. First, Thunda, Thundra or something.
Herbie.
Like that. Yeah, first Herbie. First Terrax the Tamers. Not a lot, but one of those that is significant is the first Agatha Harkness, FF94, which is a great cover, by the way. It looks like Halloween. I have to do my research on that, but it probably did come out. My guess is it did come out during that time of the year. I think. But I'm hoping it's a good series because I'm invested in that character, literally invested in that character. Right? I want to see FF94 and a few other books that I have with her be more valuable. I loved WandaVision and what I don't want to give any spoilers. Is it too? I mean, how long is it?
No, WandaVision. Talk about
it. Spoiler, right? That the next door neighbor turns out to be Agatha Harkness and really the one. Well, not really the one, but one of the ones that's manipulating things. But it turns out, the Scarlet Witch obviously has done all this. But who's the actress that played her?
Catherine Hahn.
Okay, she was amazing.
Yeah.
My hope. First off, the trailer was, for me, it was neither here nor there. There wasn't enough in it for me to say, wow, I'm stoked about it.
Yeah.
But these days the bar's kind of low, and when it comes to these trailers, to be honest. And I was just hoping, please don't be terrible. Don't be Madam Web level trailer where everybody's trashing it 3 months before it comes out. So, 4 months before it comes out, they're already like, oh my gosh, look at this. That's kind of what way it was with Madam Web, the trailer. I wouldn't say it was that level of bad with this one. It was more like, okay, it could be good.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I think the biggest problem with it is it's not. It's not really sparking any excitement. But I think that's also just like a general, like, people aren't excited for these movies anymore. I think people are excited for Deadpool, which comes out in a couple weeks. Yeah. And like I've said, like, I think the future of the MCU is kind of hanging on the success of this movie.
Yeah.
But I think until that comes out, people are probably not going to care about Agatha and other stuff.
No, but they didn't really care about WandaVision, and then suddenly it was. And I don't know that there was any hype about the animated X-Men 97 that came out.
People were excited for that, yeah.
But it hit big because it was actually good.
Yeah.
So whether or not there's any excitement, if leading up to it, if it's a good series, people will watch it.
Yeah.
You know. But I do think that we as moviegoers and critics, we've kind of gotten a little bit, you know, mean spirited about some of the stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
Crotchety, like, I'm just my position on anything that Star Wars comes out with, or Disney puts out with Marvel or Star Wars. My position's automatically going to be, you got to prove that it's good. Why? Like, it's supposed to be fun, you guys, right? Like, let's have some fun. If you don't like it, fine, but it should, like, be willing to accept that you might actually enjoy it.
I feel like I tweet this like once a quarter.
Okay.
And it's just to remind people, comic book movies are comic book movies. Like,
right.
You're not talking about like these indie films that are so intricate and go into the depths of relationships and love and death and grief and all these things. Like, it's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
And newsflash, there's comic books out there that are bad, and probably a majority of them are bad. And so honestly, for a comic book movie to be bad, it's on par.
yeah, exactly. Can we just not be snobs about it? Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, I've gone to plenty of movies and walked out comic movies and thought, yeah, that wasn't very good. Or I've seen plenty of trailers where I go, yeah, I'm not interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
But I don't really I'm not interested in tanking it for everybody else. Like, making it, well, it's not cool to like this one because we all agreed it's not good, right? Like, someone out there went to Madam Web and liked it. I'm sure of it. Like, it's just, they thought it was a fun movie. You know, these aren't, like you said, they're not pushing them forward to win Academy Awards. They're not trying to be Ben-Hur or whatever, Silence of the Lambs. They're supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
So please, if Madam Web is fun, Madam Web, if Agatha Harkness is fun, then I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to like be earth shattering necessarily. And it's not even a movie, right? It's a series. So it looks like one of the plot arcs is going to be Agatha regaining her powers, kind of breaking out of the spell that Scarlet Witch put on her essentially, and finding out who she is. I mentioned this to you a while ago. I just hope they let the actress who plays Agatha Harkness, just let her cook. I mean, she's good. Give her a little latitude and some room, and I think that she'll be able to carry a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because she's really good. Yeah. So I'm hoping it's good selfishly because of the comics I have in it, but I also hope it's good because I like a good movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that okay? Shoot me.
Yeah, a good show too. Yeah.
Yeah. A good show. Right. Good movie. I like both.
Yeah, who doesn't? Yeah. I kind of don't have any skin in the game. Like, I don't have the first appearance of Agatha, and she also is one of the on the cover of another bronze. Is it bronze? Is that whole era bronze? I don't know. But the miscolor print of that FF.
Oh yeah, yeah. What issue is that? That's it. 110. I think it's issue 110, which is the her first cover appearance, and it's got the two-tone. Like, go ahead.
It's like green and it's like neon, basically.
Yeah, something went wrong with the printing thing, and you have this misprint color.
Yeah,
which is a really cool book.
Yeah, and that fetches $1.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it sure does.
So
you don't have the first.
I don't have either of those. Yeah.
Christmas presents for Joshua.
Yeah, and until the show blows up, and then it's way out of price, or it tanks, and then it's underpriced, and you can buy me a 9.8.
Be a great opportunity. I got mine graded recently. It came back in 8.5, and then my 110 I bought at WonderCon, I think, for a 9.2.
Nice
graded. So, not hard for me to pull the trigger on FF keys because I'm an FF collector, but I don't have that one yet.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I'm not losing sleep waiting for the Agatha Harkness series to begin, but I'm not dissuaded from it at this point either.
Sure.
I'm hopeful, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited for Deadpool couple weeks away.
We're gonna go. We got to go together, right?
Yeah, we gotta get tickets, and then we'll probably record later in the week.
Okay.
Because we'll probably have to go see it opening night, which is Thursday night.
Yeah.
So we'll probably try to record Friday or Saturday.
Yeah. Get our reactions in real time. Film from the theater.
Yeah. Man, I'm excited. I do think that movie has a lot riding on it.
So yeah, it does. And it comes out in how many weeks now?
I think 2.
Okay, so next week when we record, it'll be the week prior to the movie coming out.
Yes.
So we'll take our bets on who's going to be If and Who. Lady Deadpool,
yeah, we can do that.
And Dazzler, Taylor Swift, or yes or no, and maybe Sabretooth. We know he appears. We know they fight, so maybe there's not much there to say, but we'll go on record.
Well, let's do this. I'll put up a book, and you put up a book, and we'll come up with a list of things.
Okay.
And whoever's right, like let's say it's a list of 10 things.
Okay.
And let's say you got 6 right, and I got 5 right, or whatever. Then I'll give you the book, and then if I get them right, then you give me the book, and we'll put it, I don't know, $100 cap.
I was thinking put that Daredevil 1 in play, dude.
Okay,
I mean, it's proximity. It's right there.
Okay, well, I'm gonna rig it so that I win.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Yeah, we put a cap on it.
All right, yeah. All right, we'll talk more about it.
Okay.
But all right, so let's move on to the meat of our conversation. This is a docu-series, like a reality series, I guess.
Yeah.
You guys may or may not be familiar with it. It's called King of Collectibles. It's on Instagram. And it follows this gentleman.
Netflix?
I said Instagram. Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
There's no TV shows on Instagram as far as I'm concerned.
IGTV, let's go. We'll start something new.
And I think IGTV was a thing, and then they stopped it. Actually,
Yeah. I'm too clever to have come up with that on my own. I'm sure. It must be in my brain somewhere.
You just like unlocked. Like I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that used to be a thing, and then they canned it. Anyways, so King of Collectibles. I'm blanking on his full name.
Yeah.
His last name is Golden.
Right, Golden.
Yeah.
Goldin. I think. Yeah.
And he, let me see if
Tony Golden? Something like
he hasn't Ken Golden.
Okay.
Ken Golden, he has Golden Auctions is the name of his website, and he's an auction house / consignment for collectibles. I haven't seen the whole show. I don't think you have either.
No.
We've only watched this one episode. This is the only episode he has and pertains to comics, like fully dedicated to comics.
Yeah.
But I will say he's got, because I've seen like clips on TikTok of him, and he's had some like insane sports memorabilia, like former Hall of Famers like selling him stuff, and like just truly coming into some like crazy sports memorabilia.
Yeah, the Honus Wagner, all that stuff.
Yeah, like some legit stuff, and so that's really cool. But obviously, when you're in collectibles, it's not just sports memorabilia.
Right.
It's not just Pokemon cards. And it's comics. And then it's also not just comics, it's other things.
Coins and stamps. And
Yeah.
Funko Pops. And do people still collect Beanie Babies? I'm not sure. I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah. So he went through his whole first season, mostly like sports memorabilia, sneakers, like crazy, one-of-one
Nike
sneakers
Airs and things like
and
that.
stuff like that. And then season 2, there was an episode where he was at New York Comic Con. So I saw this episode. Well, originally what happened was I saw the show and I'd seen clips of it, and I was like, oh, I remember seeing this guy. And then it said new season or something like that. So I was like, oh, cool. Let me see. My literal thought was, oh, cool. Let me see if he's got anything on comics this season, because I knew he didn't have an episode on comics on the first season. So I opened it up, and then was it called like King Khan or something like that, like the name of the episode. Yep. And I was like, oh, perfect. New York Comic Con. I was literally there. This will be fun to watch. Cool. Mm-hmm. So I think I was like going to build some furniture. So I was like, oh, I'll throw it on while I build some furniture.
Yeah, because nothing's more relaxing than building furniture.
Exactly. So I turn it on, and I get 2 minutes. What did I tell you? And 38 seconds into this episode before I hit pause. I turned it off, and I had the thought, I'm going to wait to watch this because this will be perfect content to react to with Bob on the podcast.
Yes. And what happened in the first 2.5 minutes that led you to this?
So, so I hit pause. I think I let some time go by, and then I told you about it.
Yeah.
And then you were like, "Yeah, I'll check it out," and you ended up watching the full episode before me.
Yeah. Because you were in the middle of moving, I think, at the time.
Yeah. So
You didn't have a TV.
yeah. And so I was like, okay, yeah. If you watched it, I'll watch it. So I think a couple days later, I turned it back on to watch the whole thing, and just in the first 2.5 minutes, it's a lot of fast paced, hooking you, typical reality TV stuff. But then he's giving this speech to his team in like
five or six buyers, right?
Yeah, in like a in like this upper room on the con floor,
overlooking the entire convention floor.
Yeah.
Like the box seats or something.
And so he's sitting there and he's telling his team, just kind of his goals and to go out there and buy and to go out there and get deals, and he wants to make Golden Auctions like the number one consignment place for comics. Like when people think consigning, he wants people to think of Golden. And I don't have a problem with that. Like,
okay.
But then he tells his people, I want $2 million worth of inventory by the end of the weekend. And I hit pause immediately because my first thought was, you're not finding that. There's $2 million worth of collectibles on the con floor.
Sure, yeah.
For sure. But it was about comics. And if anybody here knows anything about comics, to hit that $2 million mark, you need at least one Action 1, one Detective 27. Not like all, like you need one of these.
Yeah.
Or you need like a high grade AF-15 or FF1.
Yep.
And then after you have one of those, then you can start adding in. Still, you're going to need big pieces.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. And so
it would be a fun job though.
Sure. Yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, I would love to it follows like they split into like 3 groups, and you kind of follow it's like him, and then
they went in pairs.
They went in pairs. And so my immediate thought was, this guy doesn't know anything about the comic book market. He doesn't know where we're at, especially today.
No.
Sure, in 2021, 2022, whatever.
Right.
It's going to be a little bit easier to find that kind of stuff, but I just don't think you're walking any con floor and finding that much money worth of inventory, because people are not. Now, I walked that con floor, so I know it was there.
Yeah.
There was one seller that had a lot of great stuff. Even then, he didn't have an Action 1.
Right.
Like,
yeah, there's like 3 books that you named them already that you could presumably spend $2 million on. But then there's a big gap. Like if those books aren't present and available to buy, good luck spending $2 million. Like there's a big drop off. You're in the realm of, buying a book that's $75,000, which to me is out of the realm of possibility. But if I had $2 million, $75,000 is a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get there. My problem with it immediately when that happened was, well, what this guy is who I'm bidding against when I'm on a convention floor is his buyers that have been told, go spend like drunken sailors.
Yeah.
With really no accountability. He's like, I just want inventory.
Yeah.
I want people to think of Golden Collectibles or Golden Auctions when I think about comics. And then he's got these people out there that they're learning on the fly. They don't really know much about comics.
That was another thing, was it was pretty clear that his people were not, that I feel like they might have been told exactly what I just said. Hey, here's like the top 5 most expensive books in comics,
and just go and spend.
And then it kind of seemed like that was where their knowledge, because even when the X-Men 1 came up, they were like, they didn't really know what they were looking at.
What this guy's doing is he's not buying for his own collection. He's buying consignment. He's gonna have them in his collection for the purpose of selling them to others, and he's gonna make money as a seller's fee or finder's fee or whatever you want to call it. So
Yeah.
essentially, and this is classic capitalism. He's inserting himself as a middleman. But it felt like he's kind of gaming the system a bit because he's going on a convention floor with an army of buyers and $2 million was basically like a blank check. Go and buy everything so that I can sell it somewhere else for more and make profit on the margin. It's cheaper for me to not buy it from a consignor and buy it instead directly from the seller. But this guy's making that not impossible because he's gonna, he's the reason I couldn't get my Action 1. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, and he set out pretty early that he was hunting for the Action 1. So I think that that kind of already eliminates the Action 1 from that $2 million thing because he was like, I have a buyer in line.
Yeah, so that's separate.
Now I just need to find the book. So
that wasn't going to add to his consignment auctions. This was he said a very important client of his,
right?
Was,
a whale, as he called it.
Yeah.
So, I wrote down a few points here. Mm-hmm. Eli Manning was in the episode.
Yeah,
and it was kind of funny the way that it was. That whole interaction was filmed. Yeah. It was obvious that it was scripted. I think reality shows, and especially in this episode, they do a little bit better at like hiding the fact that it's all scripted, but you could tell that interaction, that was not the first time they had rehearsed that.
No.
But they also, the like where it was shot, which there's a lot of problems of where things are shot, and we'll get to the big one later, but where it was shot it looked like he had come up to Eli in like a meet and greet. And I know Eli didn't have a meet and greet, but it was like in the back corner. It was like,
it was set up.
It was zoned off, and like there's people like they weren't forming a line, but they were like looking because it's Eli, like a New York hero. Like,
they set it up. They said the producers set it up. They carved a little spot out, and they made it happen.
So it just looked like it was like he bought the like a photo op with Eli Manning, and then he like walked up. I just thought that was funny. But it was obvious that was definitely like, that wasn't like a casual like, it's Eli. Like I'm good friends with Peyton.
Grab the cameras over here. Let's
So
that show that episode bugged me, and I don't know obviously this gentleman, and I'm not like trying to rip on his business model or anything like that, right? I mean, hey, he's obviously doing really well doing what he's doing, and to be in a position to make an offer on an Action 1, more power to him. But I just, the idea of for anybody just to say, well, I have a lot of money, so I'm gonna buy my way into the comic stratosphere. I'm gonna become the thing people think about when they think about comics. Because I have a lot of money, I can do it. I'm not saying he can't do that, but
here's a quote from him from the episode.
Okay,
and this is where it really started to bug me.
Okay.
And this is like where, anyways, here's the quote. I'll get into what I want to say in a minute. He said, "It's not about making a quick buck."
Yes, it is.
It quite literally is.
It's 100%. For him, that's exactly what it is. And that's okay. Just admit it.
I can't believe he said that. Because the whole premise of that episode, or not the subplot of that episode, was literally trying to find an Action Comics 1 so that you can flip it immediately.
Yeah.
It was an immediate flip. It wasn't, hey, let me find this Action Comics 1 so that I can take it and find a buyer. Like, I really just want to have it so that we can like blast it on our socials, so that we can make it like the thing on the front page of our auction site. Like, that wasn't the purpose of it. Was he has a buyer, so he wants to take it out of somebody else's hands, negotiate it, sell it to his buyer so that he can make a quick buck. Mm-hmm. If that's not the definition of a quick buck, and a quick couple bucks at that, like I don't know what is. So I was just like,
that's his business model.
You're not honest.
No, that's like, the business model. If it wasn't the business model, then you would go to the seller of Action 1 and say, hey, let me connect you with my buddy over here who wants to buy it, and you would go home. But that's not your business. Your business is, well, I know you could sell it to him for a price, but he doesn't want to be bothered with that. So he's going to pay more for the book because I'm going to make some money in it.
Yeah. And then the main premise of the premise of the main plot was to get $2 million worth of inventory so you could turn it into $3 million, total.
So doesn't that artificially inflate the comic book market anyway? If you're inflating it with middlemen who are buying almost indiscriminately because they just want inventory, and then when they sell it, they're going to sell it they're going to have to inflate the price because they're going to have to lowball the who they're buying from.
Well, that is, I think that's what frustrated me the most, and why I like people like this are ruining the hobby, because and I don't mean just like big auction houses, because I don't think that like auction houses are ruining, but I think it's this mentality, whether you're doing it at the scale of trying to have $2 million worth of inventory, or whether you're doing it at the scale of, a few $1,000s, whatever it is. But I think it's just this mentality of flipping. Mm-hmm. And flipping has become huge in the last few years. And not just in comics, but, Craigslist flipping and
houses.
Yeah. And look at that. Look at our housing market.
Well, it's a good comparison. Flipping in a neighborhood, you want to buy a house, but you're bidding to buy the house against someone whose business model is operating from a large cash pool to buy a house, renovate it, and then flip it. That person is going to be able to buy the house more than the resident. The husband and wife with a couple young kids who are just trying to get started in life. Good luck bidding against this business. Yeah, because they can afford to pay, because they're operating from a lot of cash. It's the same idea with this guy. Now him buying and flipping an Action Comics 1 has zero impact on me because I'm out of the Action 1 market currently, right? But what about that $2 million? Like, what's he buying with that $2 million?
Yeah.
And like I said at the very beginning of this whole conversation, I'd be bummed out if I was looking for a book at that NYC Comic-Con that one of those buyers was also going to buy, because I know I'm out. Because how hard are they really going to negotiate?
Right.
They just were given money and told to bring me some books.
And they had to hit $2 million. So it's like,
Exactly.
So they're going to go in there. They're going to buy these books, and they're going to put them back on the market, where the same sellers that you're shoulder to shoulder with on the con floor are looking to buy. And because this guy clearly has no clue what's going on in the market, people are not going to buy at your inflated price, because you got to make your profit plus your percentage commission fee, or if it's a consignment or whatever it is. Like, you're going to have a floor, and the floor is going to be either to break even or like a 5 to 10% profit. Yeah. But you're probably going to be looking for like 20 to 50, probably somewhere in that range.
I think it's a tough model to do with anything but like those 5 or 10 ultimate, like, holy grail comic books in the market, because those are untethered from sentimentality for the most part. Yeah. Action Comics 1, Detective 27, Superman 1, Batman 1, Captain America Comics 1, things like that, Marvel Comics 1. These books, they're just liquid investment properties. Not totally liquid, but they are investment properties that are as blue chip as a stock in a good company is. They have inherent value and they can be flipped. But once you get into the below that level, the market's too unpredictable. Yeah. Like he could spend $2 million, and next year, as we all have found out in the last 3 years, that $2 million of inventory could be worth $750,000 very easily. So that's tough. I mean, he did find out, because he tried to buy Action Comics 1 from that one that there was a dealer there at the convention, and she just wouldn't do it. Yeah. He thought he could just throw enough money around and she would do it. But even then, there was sentimentality. She's like, no, it means too much to me to have this book in my collection.
Yeah. When he was negotiating and just like throwing that money and like, the 0% consignment and all these things, a part of me was wondering, do you actually know who Superman is? Like, do you actually know the power of this book? Right. Because, yeah, this book is worth 1.3 million or whatever it was, but like this is like the comic book to have.
Yeah.
And I think you have to know that, and when you know that, you have to respect the person that you're trying to buy it from, because they now own the number one most valued comic book in the world, and not just monetary value, but pop culture value.
Right.
Like where we're at today, like looking back and seeing all of what superheroes have become, what film has become, and just like all the ways that Superman has impacted pop culture.
Yeah.
And now you own a piece of that history. And it's not going to go away
No.
that easy. Like this person's already in on the book for over $1 million. Like they don't want their money back on it. Like
No.
owning a piece of that history is a lot more when you have the cash flow for that.
Yeah.
Is a lot more than just like the fiscal financial inventory or investment that you have in that book. Like how you now have an investment in the culture.
Yeah. And it, I mean, to say that you owned it,
Yeah.
like these books they should come with a pedigree of owners and former owners. I mean, didn't Nicolas Cage own Action Comics 1 in the 90s? I think he did.
And like in a vault, and he never saw it.
And then he ended up selling it, but like I think it's still known. Like, that's the Nicolas Cage owned
interesting.
one. I know it's.
Yeah.
If anybody knows that, let us know in the comments, because I guess I could look it up, but I know it's out there somewhere. He sold it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the other thing, or kind of connected to this, is there was I don't know how much you're familiar with KAWS, KAWS. It was that Asian gentleman that he had walked up to, who had that little figurine.
Oh yeah.
That was pink and from like a Chanel store or something.
Yeah. What was that? That was wild.
Yeah. It's like this like streetwear type level of like figurine. I don't know too much on the history, but I know that it's like usually tied in like pretty closely with like streetwear and street culture. Like,
okay.
So that dude had like I'm forgetting what it was, but it was like one that was hung up in like a Chanel store or a Gucci store, one of those like high fashion places in like London or Italy or something. And he had this figurine, and it's a limited, like, so it was worth a ton. And this dude who was like, they had essentially said like, this is like the action figurine guy, like in the market.
Yeah.
And then he was like, Golden goes to his booth at New York Comic Con, and so this gentleman shows him the figurine, and he just starts throwing money at him, and you can see it in that dude's face where he's like, I'm not selling this.
Yeah.
Like this, it's so much about money and not like respecting what these pieces of culture that people own. So that part really bugged me, because he was like, yeah, I'm not interested in selling. And you could truly see in his face that he was almost offended that like the money was just being thrown at him.
Yeah. Not everything is for sale, and money doesn't buy you everything.
Yeah.
And including like a place in the hobby.
Right.
And I mean, this is a podcast. We're supposed to say controversial things.
Yeah.
I hope that Tony Golden is unsuccessful in his efforts to be what people think about when they think about comics.
Yeah.
I said Tony. It's not his
Ken.
name. Ken Golden is unsuccessful in his efforts to be the name people think about when they think about comics. I don't think he represents what most of us, you, me, people watching, listening, love about the industry.
Totally.
It's a bit of a stewardship. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, you pass on that knowledge to other people about the industry, about the hobby. You get younger people into it. You steward that responsibility. You steward the comics themselves. Yeah. We haven't even talked about that yet. We got to talk about how it ended, and how the one right after it started, because he does find his Action Comics 1. And this was the part I about lost my mind.
Yeah.
I did.
Not yet. We'll get there.
We're going to get there.
But
anyway.
I guess since, I will say there's a difference between somebody like him and seeing the type of business he's doing and the way he's doing it, compared to like the way that Elite Comics 11 does business.
Yeah.
Like Elite Comics 11 at the heart of it, which when you like strip it down to its core is Ali. And so when you just have Ali and you like take the business away from him and it's just like Ali standing in a room or whatever, he's a collector at heart.
Yeah.
Like
obviously
he loves the hobby. He loves comics. And that is where you start.
Right.
You don't start with, you just can't look at this space and see the money that's in there and then think, oh, I got to get my hands in that. One, because we see right through it.
Right.
Like it's not hard for us to catch on to what you're doing. And then we're all going to get mad at you because it's like, yeah, you're going to end up getting books and you're going to end up finding your way into the market and you're going to end up messing up the market and these prices because just like we were talking about with the housing market, you're going to have this infinite amount of money and you can take these books out of buyers' hands.
Yeah.
But then you're going to try to sell it to that exact same seller, and it's like, well, I could barely afford it when it was here.
And you can't knock the sellers for selling because the guy's is gonna come with a bunch of cash. It's not their fault.
Totally.
But it doesn't help. It hurts it for the little guy who's just trying to, get that one LB Cole cover or that one, key golden age first appearance that they've been saving up for. And this dude just shows up and is like, well, I'm here with $2 million. So
yeah. So it's just not in a hobby like this, in a culture like this. And I'm sure he doesn't even know about like what goes on Instagram. Like when you just have a community that has already been through the highs of 2021 and 2022 and is now in the lows and is still like, making exchanges. Like,
I love it.
You're not going to be able to come in and make the profits that you want to.
I'm certain that most people watching or listening to this right now feel the same way that you and I do when I say I'm glad the market tanked in 2021, 2022, 2023, whatever. I'm glad because it's kind of, we had this great culling within the hobby where the speculators, I think they've gotten out of it in a lot of ways. Like we're all speculators to some degree, but the flippers and the I'll call them the comic book tourists, that they saw that there's a lot of it was a hot market, so they got in and tried to cash in on it, and maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But I don't think the hobby. I think there's some fatigue with that, and we all kind of paid the price because some people got caught up in different things and maybe paid too much for stuff, or it's better off for the hobby when it's not doing this.
Yes.
It's better off for the hobby when it's predictable enough.
Yeah.
When it's going like this, I don't think that's a comfortable place for sellers or buyers. And then people are reticent to buy a book because they're wondering, well, it might be worth 20% less tomorrow, all kind of stuff. It's best if the people, the nerds, the true nerds that got into this because they love the characters, they love the books, but they also love just the pop culture of the whole thing. I'm glad it's settled back down, and that's pretty much what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
At conventions and in live sales and comic shops, things like that, because it's just healthier. It's more organic. It's
for sure.
We don't want this all this money kind of flowing in out of nowhere that disappears, overnight.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say before we move into the big part of this episode is, and I touched on it a little bit earlier, but he goes to New York Comic Con. He's telling his team, let's get 2 million worth of inventory. And you're sharing the con floor with buyers. So realistically, you're sharing the floor with the same people that you're trying to sell to.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And you're shoulder to shoulder at these booths, and you're trying to take everything from what these people are trying to buy. Now, yes, obviously most people there aren't buying, the Batman ones, the Action Comics ones, and he didn't find any of those. He found an X-Men one, so there's going to be a decent amount of buyers. You'd think who would afford that,
and a Captain America one.
Yeah, and a Captain America one. obviously he's not going in there looking for, you know, FF57. Like
No,
I understand that there is a
he's not gonna buy my Dark Hawk one.
right. So I understand that there's he's not taking these like actual books that a lot of these collectors are, but I think when you're just going in there with a team of people,
Yeah.
and you're just like spreading your team out on the con floor and just trying to vacuum these books and taking them literally out of collectors' hands
Yeah.
for the purpose of flipping, there's just something not right about that.
Yeah.
Even though you're looking at a totally different echelon of books, like still those are the books that we want to look at.
Yeah,
that we like seeing at a booth.
We
like,
pose next to them.
Yeah, exactly.
That happened to us at a convention just a couple weeks ago, where this guy runs up with his son and asks the comic dealer, "Hey, can my son take a picture holding your Amazing Fantasy 15?"
Yeah.
And to my shock and almost dismay, he let him. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right.
So he's gonna do what he's gonna do, and
I thought it was cool that, and I know it's a reality show. I know, we get only seen what the editors clip away and all that stuff. So who knows? But what I did like was some of his team, like who clearly they didn't know. They admitted they really didn't know a lot about comics. They seemed to genuinely get excited about learning what they were learning about comics. So I kind of wondered, low key, are any of these people that he sent out as buyers gonna catch the bug the way all of us did?
Yeah,
because it's definitely possible. The comic book hobby is 100% contagious. It's catching. I don't need to tell you guys. You know it's true. You look out if you go to a comic convention. You might be going there as a business endeavor and you're there to buy some stuff, but you stick around long enough, you talk to the people who are there because they intensely love the hobby, you might get the bug. You might get the bug. And I wondered about that a bit.
Yeah. And honestly, I hope he does, because
sure enough,
it'll be better than trying to make a quick buck, which
the problem with getting the bug is it's really hard to sell your books.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I just think going on a con floor like that and taking from people, I already know the caveat is he's hunting for big books, but still that idea, like that you're gonna send your team onto a floor where people who like really love the hobby are and are buying, like just like that's our space. Let us have that space.
Yeah, come on.
Like do the private buying. Yeah. Find collections from people who are
let the schmoes like us who forked up to $125 for the 3-day pass or whatever. Yeah. And we don't want to buy a hamburger because we want to spend it on the dollar bin section. Let us have it. You know? Come on.
Yeah.
I besides that, for those big books, do we really need a middleman? I mean, there's already like Heritage Auctions and other places like that. He kind of presented the Action Comics 1 as this impossible book to find, but I'm not so sure that's true. I mean,
typically I feel like in a situation like that, you're taking like a valuable piece, and he was clear that he was essentially going to flip this. And he made a deal with the guy. I don't remember exactly what it was. It was some money and I think a couple other benefits of like some credit on the website.
Credit, imagine that, like, oh, here's like $200,000 in store credit from any comic you want.
But when I'm on TikTok, I'm kind of on this like watch TikTok, which is Rolexes, Patek's, and all the big, and it's the buying and selling of this, and excuse me, the sellers all know each other, and so they know that when they're going to each other, it's because they have a buyer,
right? And
so when they're negotiating, sometimes it's like, I just haven't been able to move this watch, so I'm like, I still want to make some money on it, so give me this much, and they're always very, very honest with like, I have this much into it, I want to get this much, and then they work. Another thing that they do is, hey, I have a buyer lined up for this watch that you have. let me take it for this much. I'll split the profit with you, or I'll go 60-40 on the profit with you. And they like offer them that profit margin because it's like, this is your watch. This is my buyer. Let's split it, you know.
Yeah.
We'll take a cut. And most of the time, like, that always goes way longer than like, that always goes by quicker than negotiating. Like,
right.
As soon as one of them say like, I have the buyer, let's just split. Like, they're always way quicker to accept that than to like, you know, go through the ebbs and flows of negotiating. So I that would have been the first thing with a book like that that he was trying to pry out of, you know, people's hands, because it's not an easy book to come by.
Just become a partner with this guy right here.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I have a buyer lined up. He wants to pay this much. He wants at least this grade. So this is what I'm looking for. You've got it. You obviously have your, you know, what you were in on the book. Let's come down to a price. I'll split the profit with you, or I'll give you like a, you know, a little bit more than the 10%, 3% consignment, whatever it is.
I mean, I have to admit, it would be really fun to be in that position.
For sure.
You know, to legitimately be throwing out numbers for an Action 1.
Yeah.
You know? And the only way that I could ever be in a position to do that would be if I had a buyer around the corner for whatever it is, whatever money I'm laying out for this thing. But you know,
now let's.
It would be scary to have that book in your hands because there is a responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, even for the 5 minutes that I owned it, I'm responsible for, you know, maybe there's how many copies of this book in existence, handing it off to the next collector in the same condition I got it in, which now leads us to this thing here. Go ahead.
So he finds somebody who with an Action 1, and he's meeting up with them in New York. Meets up with them, beautiful rooftop, gorgeous,
beautiful day.
Yeah, gorgeous sunny day. Meets up with this person who has Action 1. The scene starts. Beautiful shot. They're walking onto this balcony. And I remember thinking, oh, I thought this was just like B footage. And there's a very clear seating area.
Yeah.
And they walk and sit down. And he pulls the book out of his backpack. Old CGC label.
Action Comics 1.
Action Comics 1.
Comes out of a backpack.
Comes out of a backpack.
In a slab.
In a slab. On the roof. The sun couldn't be shining any brighter. And as soon as he pulls it out, I was like, oh. In the middle of the day, there wasn't a room? You could, an apartment, an Airbnb?
An umbrella you could put up.
And then he flips the cover, and you can see the sun immediately beating down on this book. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, surely he's just gonna hand it to him. He's gonna look at it. He's gonna see that it's, you know,
surely
it is what it is.
Surely.
And then he'll take it back and put it in the backpack. No more than a minute, right? Hey, here's the book. Take a look at it. Yep, CGC 3.0 Action 1 looks great. Awesome, thanks. Here you go. Thank you. I'm putting it back in my backpack
and
now.
We can negotiate,
but that's not what happened.
No.
Ken handed the book back to the dude with Action 1, and he set it down on the little coffee table, whatever it was, in front of them, face up.
Face up.
Middle of the day.
Yeah. The sun is blazing down on this book.
Oh my gosh!
With green and red on the cover and yellow. You know, we all know the cover. I was incredulous. I couldn't. I could almost not even breathe watching this. I prayed. This can't. They must have done some sort of switch. There's no way. But I don't think so, man. I think that was it.
It was an old CGC label.
Yeah. So that was it.
Man, even my wife, I called her over. And I was like, I just need you to watch these like few minutes.
Yep.
And even she, you know, she's not a collector. She knows the bits and pieces that she kind of catches in our conversations when she overhears. And she was like, what is he do? Why is it in the sun? What are they doing?
Should I find the text for the when I texted you? I should read it. I something along the lines of, you got to call me when you're done, because I need to. I gotta get your opinion on something. I don't remember what I said, but it was like.
Well, I think you had just left because we had just finished filming last week's episode.
Yeah.
Or maybe week 1.
Yeah, it was week 1.
And then you were like, "Yeah, watch it. There's gonna be a moment in there." And he's like, "I don't have to tell you what it is." And he's like, "But you're gonna call me or text me or whatever it was."
Yeah.
And then literally I'm going through and I'm watching it and it's like the episode's almost over.
Hey,
and I'm like,
nothing really is bugging me.
Yeah,
here.
and I was like, is he like, do we need to take him to the hospital? Like, does he need to get checked? And then the last 10 minutes happens, and then I was like, oh, okay.
I think I said it was going to be like fingers on a chalkboard.
Yeah, fingers on a chalkboard. Yeah, that's what you said.
I couldn't even. It was very uncomfortable watching the scene because it went on for 10, 15, like
it was about 10 minutes. Yeah.
And that's just of what got cut and on the episode. I have no idea how long they were shooting.
Yeah.
But that book stayed face up on that table under the blazing sun. And like we've talked about this before, faded comic books get way too much of a pass by CGC. Like I've seen faded Daredevil 1s and faded Hulk 181s, and these have a lot of red on them. So when they're faded, it's really obvious. They look really washed out. Coming back like 5.5, 6.0, like you and I both agree, like a book that gets truly faded by the sun there should be a cap. Like 3.0 is as high as you can get. I don't care if it's perfect in every other way.
Yeah.
It's faded.
Yeah.
And the worst thing about it is it's a degradation to the book that can easily happen post slab.
Yeah.
So okay, what was the condition of the Action 1 again?
I think it was a 3.0.
It was a 3.0. Ostensibly, it was a 3.0. I don't know what it was after it spent 20 minutes in the blazing sun, though.
Yeah.
In New York in the summer, right? Isn't that when
October?
So yeah, the autumn. So the sun's blazing.
Yeah. So that was really just the nail in the coffin for me. That was like
this guy does not deserve
you don't know
to be holding these books.
You don't know what you're messing with here.
No.
And truthfully, and even for the dude that had the Action 1, I mean, at that point, I guess he doesn't care. But truthfully, like when you're just letting a book like that sit in the sun, like, do you even have respect for the game?
No, you don't.
Like, I mean, if honestly, for the guy who's selling, he's probably like, well, I know I'm going to sell this, so I don't care. Like,
he's got to care though, man. Like because he's
like, it's not my book anymore.
But right, but until you hand it off, it's like a pet. Like you want to make sure it goes to a good home.
Yeah.
That they're going to take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see any reason why that interaction couldn't have happened in any sort of room, any sort of beautiful home in the Hamptons that you Airbnb for an afternoon or, whatever. Like,
yeah. I mean, you've got these comics on the wall right here.
Yeah. But
you only have one window in this room and it's always shut. And you don't get direct sunlight in here.
Yeah.
And you're very careful about it. And that's wise. And you'll probably over time rotate these anyway, because you never know. But it's just unconscionable.
Yeah.
To take, like when I was bringing my show and tell book over, I laid it face down in the back on the floorboard between the front seat and the back seat where it couldn't get any sun on any part of it.
Yeah.
And I live a 3-minute drive away from here.
Yeah.
and that's a book. It's a book from 1964 that isn't anybody's holy grail book. Action Comics #1. Come on, man.
Yeah. So maybe it was a dummy book. I don't know. I don't think so. But
okay, it wasn't. But let's just say it was. If it was, it's still not what you want to project on a TV show. That it's cool to leave these books just laying out in the sun, right?
Yeah. So up until that point, I was having the thought, like, am I being too hard on this guy? Like, am I just being a hater? Like, am I kind of what you talked about last week? Like, am I being exclusive? Like, am I gatekeeping the hobby? As soon as I saw that, I was like, no.
No, you're protecting protecting it.
Protecting the integrity of the hobby, protecting the integrity of collecting.
There's only a handful of Action Comic 1s to go around, and we all want to see them be beautiful.
Yeah.
One that looks good, we all celebrate that.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, when we're at a convention and someone's got an Action 1, a Superman 1, a Batman 1, we go over to it and we marvel at it. We take pictures of it. We take pictures next to it.
Yeah.
If there's anything wrong with the book, we go, oh man, we still love the book, but we imagine what it could be. Like if it were perfect, right? We only want the best for the book, even if it's not ours, because it's one of the things what's the right word I'm looking for? We highly esteem these books. We respect these books. We admire and appreciate them for what they mean and what they are. I would defend a book like that. I wouldn't let somebody
totally.
If I were on the set of the King of Collectibles, that episode, I would have been my first and last day on the set. So I would have gotten fired because I would have jumped in and I would have run up with a blanket and thrown myself over the book to cover it from the sun. Because we know this, CGC does not come with any kind of sun protection, ultra UV light protection or anything like that. Like you can get for a poster, you can get that where you can get certain frames. So if the sun hits it, it limits or negates the effects of the sun. And I think CBCS does that. But CGC,
UV protection,
UV. CGC does not.
Yeah,
they should.
Yeah,
but right now, as far as I know, they don't, and certainly not the old label one.
Yeah,
they don't. Brutal, man.
Yeah,
just brutal.
So, if anybody from Ken's team watches this, connect us. We'd love to get them to get to know and love the hobby in a deeper way and kind of the do's and don'ts. So
yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, we're not in the business of tearing people's businesses down.
No, not at all.
And our 150, 200 view podcast surely isn't going to ruin anybody's business. But,
no.
Yeah, we welcome people to love and enjoy the hobby, but there's a lot of things you got to learn, and we've all made those mistakes.
Just be. If you are going to jump into the deep end of the pool, which obviously he did and can, and more power to him for that, please just be careful.
Yeah,
please be careful with the book.
Just respect what we got going on.
Yeah, there aren't that many of those around.
Appreciate it the way that we appreciate it, and I think when you do that, you will have a lot of people lined up wanting to buy from you. And I think that's why
100%.
Elite's sellers has people lining up wanting to buy, because it starts at the top. There's an affection for the hobby.
Affection, that's the word.
Or from Ali. And I mean, I'm sure he vets all his sellers. And
all the sellers on too. I see him and it's I haven't run into anybody on the Instagram claim sale circuit that doesn't love it.
Yeah.
They love it the way I do. And it's, they're selling today, but they'll be buying tomorrow. And one or two of those things are probably matriculate into their PCs because they represent something they've always wanted. They mean something to them.
Yeah.
And that's the best of it,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, the guy who, and I don't know if we'll end up keeping this in the podcast because it's not even about comics, but the guy who bought in auction the Barry Bonds record-breaking home run ball.
No, he
hit the home run that broke the Hank Aaron's record. Bought the ball at an auction. I think he paid more than $1 million for the ball. And look, he wasn't making any bones about it. He said, "I'm buying the ball so I can get an asterisk tattooed on the ball," and he did. He won the auction. And he paid his money, and for that money, he felt he had the right, because he bought it, to deface the baseball, to deface this piece of baseball history. I can't disagree with what he did more. I don't care how you feel about Barry Bonds or the record or anything else. That piece of baseball history belongs to everybody.
Yeah.
Whether or not you particularly paid for it and you bought it, it belongs to everyone. It belongs in the Hall of Fame. And we can have the debate, but you don't get to be the last word on the debate by buying it and putting an asterisk on the baseball itself. Yeah. And he did, and it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
I hate that he did it. The only saving grace is that Bonds went on to hit a few more home runs. So that may be the baseball that broke Hank Aaron's record, and people can disagree about the veracity of that record if all they want. Totally understand. But there is another baseball that represents his last home run. That one doesn't, at least to my knowledge, doesn't. And I just think the principle is the same.
Yeah.
This belongs to everybody. It's not, you don't have to, you may buy it, you may own it, but you're really just stewarding it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to, not to be morbid, but everybody's going to die one day, and you're only going to own it for the time that you did own it.
Right.
Whether you're not going to take it with you in the grave. So
Yeah.
You stewarded it for a time. What did you do with it? Oh, I marked it up. Oh, I let it sit out in the sun and get bleach white. Like, what's wrong with you? You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Love the hobby. Love the
Absolutely.
respect it.
Respect it. Come on.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I guess since we're here, I have people that reach out to me with collections wanting to sell. So I don't know if you've ever thought that while watching any of my videos and like want to sell a collection, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I've had people email me with the collections,
or me, Mr. Longbox, Mr. Period Longbox. Come on, we'll fight over it.
But yeah, you're more than welcome to, if you're looking to liquidate your collection, you're more than welcome to, hit me up, email me, or hit me up on Instagram. And I have shown him one of the someone sent me a collection and I wasn't interested, and then I showed you.
Yeah,
and then you were kind of interested, but ended up not being interested, and we didn't end up going through with it. But yeah, so if that's something that you're trying to liquidate and looking for someone to buy, I know that.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't have any overhead, so there's that, because when you go to a comic shop, there's a lot of overhead. But
that would be fun.
Yeah,
it would be fun.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that since I have had people reach out. So All right, that ends our main.
Yep, it does.
Segment of the podcast. Now we're going to be moving on to Patreon. So thank you, Spotify, Amazon Music,
Apple Music,
Apple Podcasts,
Apple Podcasts, okay,
and YouTube viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
If you'd like to catch the rest of this podcast, you can head to our Patreon, which unfortunately isn't live yet because I was in the middle of setting up the page.
Right.
I was literally 8 minutes into setting up the page. I hadn't even publicly published yet, and then I got kicked out.
Yeah.
And I got an email that said your account has been suspended due to suspicious activity, and it's going to be deactivated. So I'm in the process of working with their support team.
How could it be suspicious activity? You're the owner of the account.
Yeah, I don't know. They were like, we need you to prove, and I'm like, what do you need me to prove? The page wasn't published yet. But anyways, so yeah. Hopefully by Monday it's up. If not, I don't know. Maybe I'll just take the Patreon episodes from last week and this week, make them one podcast, and then I'll just publicly throw them up.
Yeah, thanks for listening or watching, and for your likes and comments, and I appreciate that. It's fun. I love after you drop a podcast episode, I love looking the next day at the comments. Yeah, not because I'm looking for people to say, "Wow, it was really great." No, I actually love the interaction. Hey, here, here's a way you can store. Here's my suggestion. We got one of those, or hey, I here's my story, or I love that stuff.
Well, that's what I'm hoping the Patreon will allow for a lot of. Patreon just has a lot of ways to set up a lot of direct communication with, because the YouTube comments, like they're great to read. At times we're not getting a million comments. At times it can be hard to keep up with, like with Dara stuff and some
not
of
for us yet.
some of my old gaming stuff, but to really just have like a place to organize and connect and give you guys more content. That's right.
And we'll be at TorpedoCon in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll be there.
So if any of you guys are going to be at TorpedoCon, look us up. We'll be
what's
around.
Up. Yeah, we'll be there. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you guys either on Patreon or next week.